Hey everyone, how you doing today? The lovely Anna Kelly is with us. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing very well. I look forward to this conversation. This is about our local markets. You and I are active real estate investors. We are still growing. So I'm always curious, what is going on in other markets? I believe what I'm seeing in my market is probably happening across most of the country, and that is mom and pops who were stuck in their home for a year are starting to look around going, huh, my house is a little older. It's a little too small. I want to take some of this equity out. So I'm already seeing more listings come from owner occs. They're still going fast, but because I look every day, I'm seeing more and more opportunities. I'm curious what you might be seeing.
I am seeing definitely more houses starting to hit the market. So we're
Okay.
starting to finally see a little bit more supply. They're still being scooped up, but there are some properties that are sitting out a little bit longer. And the same with small multifamily. So I mostly target larger multifamilies now, but I have a lot of coaching students that are looking for their first, 3-4 unit apartment building, 5 unit apartment building.
Sure.
And some of them are starting to sit a little bit longer. So investors are starting to go, prices are too high. They got to come down a little bit. And they're sitting a little longer on the market because I think investors are like, okay, it's time for us to start, being a little more patient.
Yeah.
And also rates are ticking up a little bit. And because rates have ticked up, the affordability of that purchase has come down a little bit, and the cash flow just isn't there if they pay what's being asked with interest rates a little bit higher. So definitely still demand waiting for these deals, but there's definitely an increase in supply.
Yeah, and folks, this is how I've been telling you it's coming. This is kind of my mental image, right? There's all these buyers who have been frustrated for, call it 8 months, right? 5 offers, waiving contingencies, 20K over ask. They're frankly pissed off. They went from being disappointed to mad. What's happening now is more inventories coming from probably some of them would have sold last year, but of course they didn't because don't touch my stuff, right? So now they're selling. And every once in a while, these buyers are coming out going, oh, I got it. So this pile over here is going to be bled off rather quickly, right? We're not talking days. We're probably talking 6 to 10 weeks, depending on your market. But then as inventory keeps coming, that's not going to have the same pool. So days on market, I'm telling people come July-ish is going to start to creep up. Then you're going to start to see price drops. And then I don't think we're going to get back to a balanced market, which is about 3.3 million homes, but we're going to get to 2 million homes a lot faster than people think.
Yeah. And I think especially if and when the tax code changes,
Yeah.
that's going to make even more inventory come on the market. And that is going to drive down prices, because when you have high supply and the demand starts to dwindle a little bit, especially in the rental property, market, then prices are going to come down.
Yeah. Yeah. What I'm seeing in my market, and I think it's probably pretty similar. I'm actually right now, well, like a month ago, everything sold for silly prices, right? Generally speaking. What I think is going to happen next month is the top 10%, the prettiest, the cleanest, the perfect, the location still sells remarkably fast, but they all go owner occ. Then we're going to have the next 20 or 30% that are just old, used, but livable. They're going to sit a little bit, probably go FHA, right? Low down payment, all of that. But that, for me and you, that still leaves 60% of the market, right? Too old, too out of date, too close to industrial, too close to a busy street, whatever it is. That stuff's going to sit. And that's where we find rentals that cash flow.
Yes, 100%. You want the properties that the flippers aren't going to try to flip and make big bucks.
Yeah.
And right now, what I am seeing in my market is flippers are going for higher and higher end homes, because the lower end homes, like, they're being swept up really fast. Yeah. And a lot of these government programs are making you wait like 30 days until only owner occupants have been able to bid and have a chance for their contract. So flippers are going for higher end properties too. But it's harder for them to make money if values start to come down a little bit too. So that low end, if you can get them, and on the market, are really good rentals sometimes, or just above that low end where They're not quite as old, don't need quite as much work, but aren't going to sell for the big upside that the flippers are looking for.
Yeah. I mean, the perfect rental is that house that's still livable. Maybe it, it doesn't have granite yet, but the kitchen's still clean. The cabinets are old. Again, I have never personally gotten more rent for granite in new cabinets. It's bedrooms, baths, parking. Now, for the first time, fenced in rear yards, right? Which before I couldn't get anything for that. Now I can because everybody wants space. So
right.
Yeah, know what your rents are, know what gets you rents. And again, do your homework, because the last 18 months have been hard to get deals. I suspect starting in July, the opportunities are going to be there, but you got to do your work now. You got to be ready. You got to learn average, and you got to be ready to find or write good or great offers.
Right. 100% agree with you. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited. I wasn't sure we were going to agree because again, we're on different coasts and the market, everybody's market's local. But yeah, how big is your market population wise, the one that you kind of farm in?
It's not like a big city like Fresno. It's like we have townships. And so you drive through your 1 to 2 lane each way Main Street highway that connects all these connected towns that are all starting to kind of grow up, right? They're all kind of suburbs of Harrisburg, the capital.
Got it.
So when you add all of it together, we're probably outside of Harrisburg proper, the capital. It's probably 50 to 60,000 people.
Okay.
So it's not significant. It's much smaller, I'm sure, than Fresno.
And then Harrisburg, I have no idea. What's the capital, you think? Couple hundred?
The capital's probably a couple 100,000.
Yeah. Fresno city is 850,000 and the county is over 1 million. So by comparison.
Yeah, it's a much, much bigger market. This is, the interesting thing is there's a lot of jobs around. So there's a lot of different types of employers around. And there's still more jobs than there are workers. And so that bodes well for a real stable economy. We don't have the huge highs and the huge lows, but we have a lot of growth in the past couple of years. It's just, you can't build the houses fast enough for the people that are moving into our areas, even though there's not big cities around. You're an hour and 15 minutes from Philadelphia, so on a bad day. So there's Lancaster, that's kind of a bigger market. There's Allentown, Harrisburg. You can get to any of those kind of employment hubs within 45 minutes.
Oh yeah.
And if you have a job in Philly, an hour to an hour and 15. So yeah.
Yeah. And what's the median price? Is it like 220-ish, 250? No idea.
In that range, depending on which one of these small markets you're in. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of similar. It's I got to play 80% of median. I mean, that's where you got to be to make sure you still have cash flow.
Right. Our newer homes are probably, for an average 4-bedroom home, 3,000 square feet, and slightly newer build, but no brick, no stone, all that's kind of extra stuff. You're in the 400 to 450 price range, something like that.
Okay.
But for an older home, our 1970s build, 1960s, 1970s, 11 or 1,200 square foot home, they're going for 190-ish.
Okay.
So, that's kind of the first time home buyer range in our area.
For sure.
And then anything below that is kind of their rental properties. So they're in what we call the borough. So they're like in your downtown areas. So they're good schools and low crime, which is really good, but they're your 1900 and 1920 buildings that have been turned into duplexes or 4 units. And those are our sweet spot kind of rental properties.
Sure.
The thing that's interesting in this market is and this has changed in the last couple of years as prices keep ticking up, but like that 1,200 square foot starter rancher home that I could rent for 1,300, I'd try to buy at 110 and they'd kind of go for 120.
Okay.
Now those are selling for 190.
Oh, yeah.
Guess what, Michael? I can't get $1,900 a month for those.
No.
We kind of tap out a rental range. And that's the thing about what you want to buy as rentals, are those things that are just below the first time home buyer, where your rent can keep up with, the purchase price that it's moving to. And so those are hard for people that want a nice little rancher today that are paying 190. They're never going to cash flow.
No.
I bought them at 180, 110. Now I'm getting $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 a month.
Yep.
I'm doing much better, but the prices are kind of moving up to where if you want rentals, you got to go for the lower end.
And then last question, what is rents doing in your market? Have you noticed on houses specifically, they're a little stronger.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Rents have gone up to compete with raising in prices. We're just, you can't get rents above a certain level.
They tap out. Yeah.
They tap out. But, I like the, 1,100 square foot property. I used to charge $1 a square foot. Essentially, that's kind of what my market bore. So 1,100 square feet, $1,100 a month rent. Now I'm at $1,400 a month, rents on an $1,100 house pretty easily. No granite, no stainless steel,
no extras,
just nice, clean, slightly fixed up.
Very cool. Well, yeah, it's interesting what's going on with the market. It'll be interesting to see if it's certainly a trend in my market. I look every day, every morning. It's more than a blip. It's still getting consumed, like this Pac-Man over here, just gobbling up those little dots. But eventually this will end, and we're going to start to see stuff. So I'm excited. Any closing thoughts on this? Yeah.
Just, this is an exciting time to be a real estate investor. For as much as there's change and we have, fears and concerns, the reality is every market gives you something different. And
Absolutely.
Rather than just, these are things that could be problems, I look at how can I make them an opportunity? How can I take that opportunity and turn it into a really good investment that'll help me meet my financial goals? So don't give up in this market. You just have to get more creative and more patient with what you buy, so that you can buy things that are going to help you mitigate the risks of these changes.
Yeah. What I would tell a student or anyone following the channel is the last 12 months have been the hardest of my 20 years to find deals. It will be remarkably easier the next 12 months.
I agree with you 100%.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much for your time. This is always fun. Thanks, Anna.
Thanks, Michael.